Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Silver the Hedgehog here, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games DS version, and welcome to day 14 of Paris Olympics 2024. So yesterday, we did somehow already tackle through Cosmo circuit. Now, as far as Cosmo circuit, as far as I'm aware, we did that circuit pretty decently, apart from the fact that, well, after all, we did came first place all in all, when it comes to only 2 events, which is cycling and fencing, and on top of that, when it comes to 400 meters, somehow we ended up in 3rd place, but that's mainly because the rubber banding AI decides to now come into play, and in addition to that, we were so close to able to actually get 1st place in both Dream Race and Dream Shooting. Well, as far as I'm aware, when it comes to Dream Race itself, we did that almost flawlessly, except the fact that Sonic did somehow rubber band me, and as a result, I somehow came in 2nd place. And when it comes to Dream Shooting, I also ended up in 2nd place. Well, this is mainly because I keep losing all of my combos. But aside from all that stuff though, we still claim the trophy regardless of the forms of some mistakes. But either way, it's not that big of a deal. So today, for this video, is that we're about to be tackling through the next circuit in terms of the DS version of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, and also say applies with Masters Class potentially. And this time we're now ended up in Galaxy Circuit. So either way, when it comes to certain events we can able to actually jump into, when it comes to the forms of Galaxy Circuit, those events are Trampoline, Archery, Javelin Throw, 10-meter platform, and finally, Dream Long Jump. In some cases, the final event in not just the whole entire version of the game, but it's also the final Dream event we can able to actually come across into in the DS version of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, basically. So either way, though, chances are, though, is about the fact that at this point in time, we can now able to actually proceed onto mission mode if I decided able to go for that particular mode, in case about the fact that if I want some more content for Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games as a result when it comes to video content wise. But that particular topic can wait in a later time. I'm sure about the fact that someone said in the comments will suggest me to do the mission mode eventually at some point in the future, if depends. So anyway, so let's go and get this thing to it with Trampoline. Now, believe it or not though, it's about the fact that I suppose it really doesn't matter which specific character that I somehow use at the end when it comes to likely Trampoline as a result, because no matter what though, we still have to able to pull off the exact same commands. So as a result, no matter what though, because I keep on thinking about the Wii version for some reason, that usually when it comes to skill type characters is actually very recommendable if you really want to achieve the perfect 10 score in Trampoline on the Wii version, because obviously though it's about the fact that, like I said before, you only have to use the A and B buttons and the occasional twisting the Wii remote either left and right for the sake of the forms of trying to do some, you know, quick time events basically. So either way though, I suppose at the end of the day though, I don't think it's possible we can able to actually guarantee to get ourselves the perfect 10 score, not just by the forms of Trampoline, but also with Vault, as well as the forms of the perfect 40 point score on shooting, and in addition to the forms of, I would classify for saying 120 points maximum on archery. Well, this is mainly because no matter what though, sometimes the aiming accuracy on my part is not the strongest in the world, but at least I did manage to able to did myself some pretty good accurization when it comes to likely try to utilize with the stylus and everything. So anyways though, a few things I want to talk about is about the fact that, well, suffice to say, today's date of course there is the 8th of August today, in some cases in 2024 today. So generally speaking though, is about the fact that, well, relatively speaking though, is about the fact that one thing I totally forgot to mention about, since enjoying the forms of it yesterday actually, out of nowhere, that Xbox has decided able to actually do yet another collaboration when it comes to controllers. So for instance, they able to actually bring in not one, but 2 different kinds of controllers for Xbox Series X. and they are both entirely related to the forms of the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, and as far as I'm aware, they do look pretty cool though, I'm not gonna lie for saying this, especially because, not only because it was quite interesting design-wise, but it's also about the fact that it does manage to contain this very obscure design choice at the back, which as a result, it does manage to contain like a butt accessory. So yeah, I've got nothing else to say. So either way though, I'm not going to say anything else appropriately, by the way, because chances are though, I might as well able to get myself demonetized by saying this, but either way. So yeah, that pretty much does it for Trampoline, despite the fact that currently for right now, we ended up in 2nd place so far when it comes to the actual leaderboards. So, anyways though, but hopefully we're able to get our chance to get ourselves back up a little bit when it comes to likely for our score tally. So either way though, so let's get into the forms of archery for right now. So anyway, there's also another thing I honestly forgot to mention about this as well, that it's kind of unfortunate as well, about the fact that when it comes to Sonic Generations as a result, specifically on the Xbox 360 digital version as far as I'm aware, that in addition about the fact that you can no longer get the actual base game of the digital version of Sonic Generations for the Xbox 360 version, plus with Xbox One and Xbox Series X for that matter. But I do know for certain for one thing about the fact that obviously though when it comes to the Xbox Series X version, that obviously though it does manage to contain this very obscure glitch that was found in the forms of Chemical Plant Act 2, if you play as modern Sonic, that is. And also say applies if you're trying to able to pull off this nice little shortcut, if you manage to able to hang on into something, which you know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, and as far as I'm aware, I don't think it's also possible we can able to actually get ourselves the free DLC for Casino Night Zone now, when it comes to the forms of the Xbox 360 version, because as far as I'm aware, that was also unavailable. But luckily for us though, is about the fact that when it comes to Sonic Cross Shadow Generations coming up, I'm sure it's still possible we can able to still get ourselves Casino Night Zone. But this time around though, we can now able to actually get it as in straight away, rather than just trying to able to actually download it as far as the free DLC as far as I'm concerned. So either way though, yeah, that's all I can really say about that, I guess. So anyway, oh wow, nice little 10 score just right at the end of the 3rd end. So, or specifically the 3rd set, as far as I like to point things out. So, but anyway though, so now we have to deal with the strong wind again. So hopefully though we can able to actually catch up at what have you, and chances are it looks like we are doing quite well actually. So either way though, well, again, about the fact that when it comes to computer players, it's actually going to get ridiculously tough and difficult, but, you know, wish me luck, I suppose, when it comes to able to try to achieve the actual trophy as a result. So, anyway. And there it goes. Oh, perfect 10 at the end. So, chances are, it looks like I somehow claim myself 1st place, all in all. Although I was expected to try to able to actually use the actual, Circuit Chance token, but let's just say, until when it gets to the point until on the 10-meter platform, I can pretty much guarantee I can able to use that. So either way though, so yeah, we've somehow now back on 1st place right now. So either way though, yeah, that should be pretty swell, and yeah, nothing else I can really say about that, I guess. So, and as far as I'm aware, a lot of Sonic fans out there were expected to be a little bit more worried right now in regards to the forms of Sonic Generations, well, specifically the original version of the game, because chances are though is about the fact that luckily it's still on, it still exists when it comes to the digital store, likely for the PlayStation 3 version as well as the PC Steam version, especially concerning for the fact I know for a fact that the PC version is the best version of the game, mainly because not only for its smooth 60 frames per second and also no loading times, and on top of that with the entire mod community, which as a result, back in during the Phones event sometime in 2012, that is when about the fact that, well, 12 years later, that mod community when it comes to Sonic Generations becomes a lot more popular these days, which as a result, I can honestly agree with that, especially concerning for the fact that obviously though we have some cool ones, like for instance with Super Mario Generations, oh my goodness, that was actually a really good mod, back in during the Phones event 2015 for I've heard. And on top of all that stuff though, the Shadow Generations, just before the true version of Shadow Generations now finally exists, during the Forms event this year in particular, well, we still have no idea how many stages they're able to actually brings us into, in addition to how many boss fights they're able to actually contains as well. But I'm sure about the fact that we'll hear more about it during at some point on Gamescom in 2024, thanks to the forms of how the fact that obviously Sega is going to be once again participating for the likes of the forms of Gamescom, but this time in 2024. So yeah, I'm a little bit more optimistic to see how the fact that how many contents they'll brings us into, but we shall see. So either way, yet again we've claimed first place all. So oh yeah, as far as I'm aware, the opponents-wise we've got this time what appears to be buddy forms of not only Knuckles, but also Waluigi and Luigi. So, and unfortunately though, we now back to second place. But that's okay though, because we can still able to redeem ourselves once we get onto 10-meter platform. So either way, now it's my chance to able to actually use this glorious special token. So either way, because chances are, again, if I claim in first place all in all on a 10-meter platform, I should able to actually get myself back up on first place all in all. So either way, and surprisingly enough, Luigi never actually uses his circuit chance just yet. My guess is about the fact that he'll try to able to actually save it up during at some point once we get onto the final event on Galaxy Circuit, and that's of course Dream Long Jump. So either way though, and on top of all that stuff though, is about the fact that I've also realized about something about this as well, that it looks like we got ourselves a yet another new trailer when it comes to the forms of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, except this time what appears to be buddy forms of inspired by not only Saiyan Saga, but also Namek Saga. So as a result, yeah, they somehow managed able to bring in the next gameplay footage for the likes of not only for the sake of, you know, like I said before, Saiyan Saga, but as well as Namek Saga, or Frieza Saga if you do prefer calling that, back in Journey forms of it not only for Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 1, but as well as Budokai Tenkaichi 2, and Budokai Tenkaichi 3 basically. So either way though, yeah, it does look pretty cool still, and as far as I'm aware, the entire character roster is almost about to be completed. When it comes to able to actually revealing certain playable characters in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Mind you about the fact that we've only got about almost exactly 2 months left now until that game is going to be releasing for reals. So alongside with the forms of Super Mario Party Jamboree and of course Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, assuming of about the fact that we have to deal with this current situation when it comes to the forms of that particular voice actors for video games strike, because thanks to the forms of artificial intelligence, or AI for short, oh man, it's gonna get a lot more ridiculous very quickly. So either way, yet again, we did somehow perform very well in regards to the forms of 10-meter platform, and it looks like that Charmy B did somehow showed up, especially considering that after all we did manage to play as Vector the Crocodile for right now, which I'm almost assuming about the fact that, well, if Espio decides able to show up, then obviously though is about the fact that we can able to see him as a judge. But either way, somehow we've now come back onto first place right now, so that's actually pretty swell. And now we're about to be moving on onto the final event in terms of Galaxy Circuit, and also the final event throughout the whole entire game. That's what appears to be Dream Long Jump. Kind of think about it, this particular dream event does kind of remind me like a similar kind of thing as the forms of how it does it for Dream Platform back on the Wii version, except the biggest difference is this time is that, as you can tell, rather than diving down towards the water and trying to go through rings as much as you could and try to dodge a lot of things and also try to use the items in the process and also do some bit of quick time events. Every time whenever you go through these rings, you have to deal with the forms of the quick time events, just like the forms of how it does it for Trampoline. Well, in Dream Long Jump this time around though, is that once you try to able to actually get yourselves a good running start, you have to time your jump at the right time, so naturally you can able to actually start flying. So either way though, and also much like the forms of how it does it in one of those dream events in Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games on the DS, which I'll talk more about that in the future. And on top of all that stuff though, much like in Dream Platform on the Wii version of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, you can also go for those rings, except you can't do the forms of the quick time events this time around. So yeah, nothing else I can really add. Oh, wow, that's actually a really good jump for starters. And of course, just like any other Dream events, obviously though, the item system has decided able to come into play. What I thought was a little bit odd though is about the fact that what I've double checked, only involves the item selection when it comes to Dream Race as a result. For some reason, the Starman never shows up on Dream Race. It only exists in Journey forms of not only Dream Canoe, but as well as Dream Basketball, as well as Dream Shooting, and of course Dream Long Jump. So I've honestly have no idea why that Dream Race does not have the forms of, well, the Starman as a result. So yeah, kind of weird, honestly. So either way, so basically what Dream Long Jump plays out to be, basically though, as I said before, we're about to be flying, and on top of all that stuff though, in order to able to make your way for a specific distance, basically though, you have to land on these islands right there. Because otherwise, if you dare manage to fall into the water, like I'm about to demonstrate this to you now, basically though, if you accidentally fell in the water like that, you get a foul and you don't have any results. But luckily though, you do have 3 tries, just like the forms of how it does it for regular long jump, as well as triple jump. So there's no penalties if you manage able to make any other mistakes. Although there's also another mistake you can do, that's of course miss the jump like that, and as a result you get low altitude. So because of that though, yeah, I did somehow make that particular mistake right there, but that's okay though. Hopefully we can able to redeem ourselves, or I suppose it really doesn't matter which specific position I was going to be aiming for. Like, I don't mind if I came in 2nd or 3rd or even 4th for that matter, despite the fact that Luigi at the moment right now, he did somehow eclipse the actual circuit chance. So yeah, I might have to try to aim for like a higher position or something. So anyway, so let's just go ahead and try to land on this particular island just about over there. So just in case I can able to actually save myself from not to get a foul again. Oh, and by the way, if you land on the island before the computer players do that, obviously though, much like in Dream Race, you can able to actually see the actual live footage of certain computer players can able to actually just land on that specific island. So yeah, it can be pretty tricky sometimes, but when you get the hang of it though, it's actually not too shabby for the most part. Especially I do really like the music in the background. It's almost like very peaceful and stuff like that. So anyway, and I suppose another thing I want to mention about this though is that, well, it's kind of sad, actually, though, is about the fact that apparently, though, one of those actors in particular, that for those of you do know, that Erica Ash, that she sadly passed away ever since in about a couple of days ago. So yeah, it's pretty sad indeed, especially concerning for the fact that, well, I never actually know the actor up until now, especially concerning for the fact that, well, it did show up in the forms of the actual news ever since in about, you know, a couple of days ago, potentially. So, anyways, I suppose the final thing I wanted to mention about, in regards to the forms of the actual review scores, for, let's just say, for instance, with the forms of the Despicable Me franchise, as far as for right now, that it looks like, while looking back on the forms of the review scores, according to the forms of Rotten Tomato, while I'm looking at the forms of the critic scores, by the way, that it looks like it's gone pretty polarizing when it comes to the forms of every single Despicable Me films when it comes to review scores. Like, for instance, Despicable Me 1 still receives 80%, and then meanwhile for Despicable Me 2, still receives 75%, and the first Minions film for 2015 still managed to receive 56%, and meanwhile for Despicable Me 3 did receive the film as in 58%, and Minions 2 did receive 70%, but that was back in 2022, mind you, because of how the fact that after countless amount of delays, because of, you know, pandemic and all that stuff. And finally, when it comes to the most recent film, Despicable Me 4, apparently though, it's without a doubt is the lowest score they've ever received so far. That's what appears to be 75% out of 100% for Despicable Me 4. Not exactly sure why though, well, mind you about the fact I still haven't watched any of those Despicable Me films, apart from the third one, which as a result, I believe, Shadow did tell me about that ever since in 2019, and apparently though, Shadow's never overly keen on it too much. So either way, so that pretty much does it for not only for Dream Long Jump, After all, I did claim first place after all. But also we've got ourselves our glorious Galaxy Trophy, and as a result, we somehow unlocked the next circuit, which appears to be Universal Circuit. And how come there's Archery there? Oh, I see, just to make sure we're able to get enough events to participate in that specific circuit, so it makes sense, I guess. So with that being said, folks, is that we get endings of this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games DS version. Is that we're going to be moving on to the next circuit, which is Universal Circuit. So I'll see you guys until tomorrow. Later, fellas.